There is turmoil at the CDC as the status of its new director appeared to be in limbo on Wednesday. The Department of Health and Human Services says Director Susan Monares has been ousted from the position just a few weeks after being sworn in.
HHS made this announcement on Wednesday, but it was quickly met with a response from Monares' legal team. Her lawyers say on X, contrary to government statements, Dr. Monares has neither resigned nor yet been fired. She will not resign. They argue that since Monares is a presidential appointee, only the president himself can fire her, rather than the secretary. The White House followed that up with its own statement saying, quote, Susan Monares is not aligned with the president's agenda of making America healthy again. Since she has refused to resign despite informing HHS leadership of her intent to do so, the White House has terminated Monares from her position within the CDC.
Monares was first nominated to the role by Trump back in March, but she underwent a lengthy appointment process and was not confirmed by the Senate until July 29th. According to the New York Times, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. told her to resign or be fired due to tension between the two centering around vaccine policy. Back in March, RFK Jr. appeared much more supportive of Monares, writing, quote, I handpicked Susan for this job because she is a long-time champion of MAHA values and a caring, compassionate and brilliant microbiologist and a tech wizard who will reorient CDC toward public health and gold standard science. I'm so grateful to President Trump for making this appointment.
Well, a lot can change in a few weeks, I suppose. She is no longer viewed as a steward of the MAHA agenda. I guess I don't have specific information on, right, it's on childhood vaccines. I would like to know more details about what exactly she was at odds with RFK Jr. on. The White House, so the CDC director was not Senate confirmed until they changed
until recently,
right? To now be Senate confirmed. So she did get Senate confirmation. You know, I would say, broadly speaking, I think the president who wins the election should have the right to put the people he wants in charge of these agencies. I would like to know more about whose side I'm on here, or whether I agree more with her policies or with RFK Jr.'s. There's a lot of RFK Jr.'s health initiatives that I don't agree with, that are giving the federal government more control over you making your choices for what you want to eat and put in your body. And I certainly don't want to make it harder to approve drugs. But I've also been extremely critical of the CDC during COVID and after. I think a lot of policy that should have been just advised by the CDC and then left to local people to implement was really basically outsourced to the CDC. They were basically doing content moderation for Facebook at one point, which I certainly didn't like. But I'm not reflexively not on her side. I don't know. I would need more information on why they don't want her in this role anymore.
Well, it is certainly the case that one can make the argument in general that our president has the right to appoint people unless they are independent bodies. I mean, we've talked about the fact that the Fed is different and all of that. But I think that the problem here is the widespread suspicion of politicization of science, because it's not just Monares who has, whatever she's done, been fired, resigned, whatever, is out. It's also the fact that there are 4 other senior people at the CDC who have tendered their resignation. You have the chief medical officer, 2 vaccine experts, and the head of the Office of Public Health Data, all deciding to go. And some of them are being very vocal about what they consider to be junk science and a politicization of data and a attempt to sort of reverse engineer conclusions based upon pre-existing preferences or perceptions from RFK Jr. So those things, I think, are obviously concerning from a public health perspective. I know you're sometimes of the view in other matters that we don't care about credentialing, but I would argue that in public health we do actually care about credentialing. We do actually care about people with expertise having their hands on the wheel, and I would certainly much prefer that to some of the cranks that I think RFK Jr. has associated with in his past life as a vaccine skeptic, seems a polite way to put it.
I'm not opposed to having experts and doctors in the CDC if we're going to have a CDC at all. I think that's fine. I think sometimes, particularly during COVID, actual differences of opinion and emphasis among experts was not recognized. It was very much a specific team of experts that took an incredibly cautious view of what should be allowed in society based on, again, they would say, well, it's science that we should do it this way and this way and this way. Not so much with respect to, I'm not even talking about vaccines. I'm more about the lockdowns and how much feet of social distancing and how many people can gather. I mean, they were issuing pretty definitive opinions and statements on things that are science-y, it's public health. What impact, I mean, to go back to the Facebook example, they were recommending to Facebook what speech should be allowed on social media based on a theory of how that would affect public perception of the vaccine. We're getting pretty far afield of science at this point. We're getting into social psychology research and public opinion influencing. So my criticism would not be that there should be no expertise, but they were often weighing in on things for which they don't have expertise on this. They have expertise on how successfully this vaccine prevents this disease. But they were saying that, well, if you allow someone to make this claim about whether children need a vaccine, we think that might impact whether other people are going to get it, so we would recommend you not say that. I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with your expertise there. So it's the faux expertise, because they went well beyond there. And then when they all came out with statements during the George Floyd protest saying, well, this is sanctioned activity because racism is also an insidious disease for which protesting is the cure. I think all of that was very discrediting, but I still want our CDC to have good science, good scientists, and give good public health recommendations. So I don't know that these people exiting is good or bad.
Well, I mean, in relation to Susan Monares, we read in the introduction RFK's praise for her when she first came on board, and now the lawyers for her say, and I'm quoting from their statement, this is about the systematic dismantling of public health institutions, the silencing of experts, and the dangerous politicization of science. Now, I think it should give lots of people concern that someone who was selected by Trump and praised by Kennedy is within a matter of weeks or a couple of months coming to the conclusion that the administration is actually engaged in the systematic dismantling of public health institutions.
Yeah, I would like them to put out a statement, or maybe explain. RFK Jr. should do an interview somewhere and explain what changed in the last month or so many weeks to make him not think this person is the right person for the job. If it is just about vaccine approval or some disagreement, that's really a hobby horse of RFK Jr.'s. It's not my favorite part of his agenda, while I simultaneously recognize that what experts said about the COVID vaccine itself did not hold up in the long run in terms of promises of how effective it would be at preventing disease entirely. Has not held up. I don't think that extends to so many of the other vaccines we had. And RFK Jr. has not said that either. He has, with response to the measles outbreak that took place, in Texas, I think?
Yeah.
He came out, made a statement that the measles vaccine is good and effective and you should get it. And has said previously that it's not, that his own children are up to date on the vaccines. It was the COVID vaccine. I
mean, but they've also just recently, within the past few weeks, tightened the eligibility for the new COVID booster shots. So you actually have to be, I think it's over 65, or if you're younger, you have to show existing medical conditions, comorbidities, in order to get the vaccine.
Is that contrary to science?
I mean, I think it is cutting against the argument that Kennedy previously made about people's freedom to choose. He's actually now saying you're not eligible for the vaccine, even if you want one, if you're an able-bodied 30-year-old.
I mean, I'm not going to tell people what they can and can't put in their own bodies.
Right.
And also not an expert, but my understanding, my perusal of the science and of what European peer countries have done is to revise the vaccine guidance over time to be more, certainly for 65 plus, for people with comorbidities, but that it's not essential.
Right, but there's a difference between saying it's not essential and you're ineligible for it, though. Those are not the same thing.
Well, right, but we pay for health care in this country, so we don't want people getting...
We don't want people getting excessive health care.
No, we don't want people getting something that isn't medically necessary if the whole society has to pay for it.
Well, President Trump's ongoing tiff with late-night TV escalates. We'll tell you more about that next. Stay with us.